starting out today is Art Edinger.
I know.
I will let Art start today.
Well, you both started out as child actors, and can you talk about your path from child actor to West Side Story? In however many minutes you should choose.
Abbreviated version.
You were both child actors.
Yeah. Who do you want to speak first?
You can choose. Okay, Russ. I know. At least I know. Russ.
You don't want us both talking at the same time.
This is true. I thought you could between yourselves decide who would answer first.
Okay. Well, let me tell you.
We'll let it go.
I started working when I was like about 10 years old at Tamblyn, Delilah, and got to work with Cecil the Mill. And I think there's only 2 of us left alive.
Oh, wow.
So I have myself and Angela Lansbury. So after that, I was only like about 10 years old, and then after that I got an agent and kept getting parts, and made like 60 or 70 movies. Is that good enough for you?
George?
From the beginning, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. I grew up in Long Beach, California. Graduated from school. And when I graduated from school, I'd always wanted to be in show business. I had no idea what it was or how to get there or any of that. But I just loved theater. I loved movement, dancing. I loved singing. But so when I was in school, I found out about a wonderful dancing school, ballet school in Hollywood. And I found out there were some very famous people who took class there. So I took the train down one day to watch a professional class one morning. There was nobody famous in class, but that's all I had to see. So what I did was I got a job working at the May Company downtown as an office boy during the day, and then I took classes every night. And then little by little, I finally was able to join the union and audition for other movie musicals like White Christmas and There's No Business Like Show Business and Gentlemen for Blondes, and really such great stuff. And then, but the movies, they were starting to disappear. So dancers had to look elsewhere for work, and what I did was I bought a one-way ticket to New York. And I thought, well, I've got to go to New York, and I was very lucky because I auditioned for Jerome Robbins. I auditioned for West Side Story, which had been running for a year, and they were looking for a replacement for the New York company, and they were forming a London company. So I auditioned for Jerome Robbins. I ended up playing Riff.
He played my part. He wants it all.
I played Riff for a year and a half. I had a fantastic time. Loved it. And then, small world, they started testing a lot of different people for the movie. I tested for the film, and they also tested me as Bernardo, and that was what I ended up playing. And of course, that just changed the world for me. And for all of us in it. I mean, it was West Side Story. It was so phenomenal.
And I tested for the part of Tony, opposite Natalie Wood. That's the part I actually did the screen test for. And the last minute, my actor said, well, you didn't get it. You didn't get the part. They gave it to Richard Beamer, but they've offered you the part of Riff. So I never auditioned for it. I just got the part of Riff. And by the way, I want to tell you that while we were making the film, George and I, we worked together, but we really didn't. Jerry Robbins told us to not hang out with each other, to not socially, even though we worked together, but the Jets and the Sharks had to stay apart. So it wasn't until after the movie was made that we became pals.
There is what I call a West Side Story family, because all of us working on the movie shared the same experience. And so we've all remained friends to this day, and we all know each other socially, we have dinner together, we go to things together. So, but that experience was such a extraordinary, even Bob Wise said he had never had the same associations with co-workers as he had on West Side Story. There was something about the nature of that film and the feeling about all of that even Bob was, it was even exceptional.
Yeah, it's true. It just lives on and on and on. We've been celebrating, we're spending our whole lives celebrating West Side Story. You know, it was made like, what, 60 years ago or something. I mean, it's amazing. And we're still celebrating it. Except now, you know, we don't dance like we used to.
And George, you won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Yeah, right? And what was that experience like at that young age?
Wow.
Being an Oscar winner.
I was working on a movie in Hawaii with Charlton Heston called Diamond Head, and I was able to take a break to attend the Academy Awards. I went to the awards with Rita Moreno, and I remember when the car picked me up first, then we went to pick her up, and I went upstairs and she said, I'm practicing, what Rita said was, I'm practicing my loser's face. Anyway, so we go together to the Academy Awards, the supporting actor category is the first one that comes up, and it's me. I mean, you know, it's an incredible experience. One of the ways sometimes I think of what it might feel like, if you buy a lottery ticket, you kind of hope you're going to win, but you really don't expect to. Well, that's the way I felt. I sort of hoped, but I didn't expect to. So it came as a total surprise, fantastic surprise. And the beautiful thing was that later in the program, Rita Moreno also got the Academy Award for her role in West Side Story. So we had a fantastic night together. It was glorious.
And I got nominated for an Academy Award for a movie called Peyton Place. I didn't get it.
Well, it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. It's all about the work and the love of the work.
But you're a Golden Globe winner, Russ.
Yeah.
You both are, right?
You shared yours with Ray Denton.
That's right, yeah. Back in the 50s.
And the most promising newcomer.
Yep.
Yeah, so they knew you guys were special back then.
Yeah.
That's for
And
sure.
I had in my Academy Award nomination plaque, they gave us a plaque then, and I moved up to a place called Topanga in California, and it became sort of like a hippie. And I didn't care about all the show business stuff, so I threw my plaque up on the roof, and I left it up there for maybe 2 or 3 years, and I went up to fix the television aerial, and it all kind of curled up and everything. So I made an art piece out of it. So now it hangs on my wall. It's a piece of art. I sort of stuck a little dice on it, and which is about what it is a lot of the time. And that was my experience.
So, musicals historically, West Side Story is kind of an exception, but historically, at least from the Academy critically, musicals were almost considered to be exploitation films. They were sort of relegated as sort of like popcorn movies and not serious art. And then you also both have appeared in actual exploitation films. What do you think of the place of the musical compared to other genres of film?
Well, I think that they're just different genres, and I was amazed that I know when I did War of the Gargantuans, and that basically give it for the money, and get a trip to Japan, you know. I mean, at that time I wasn't working or doing anything else. And the first day when I got there, they said, "Oh, come on, we want to show you what they're doing." And so I went over to the set, and there were these two Japanese dudes in these crazy-looking outfits wrestling with each other over this little city that was about this high, and they were falling all over it, and all I just remember thinking to myself, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into? But what happened was I found out hey, it's got a lot of fans, and so it's just like another genre, you know?
Yeah.
And I have a question for George. So there's aspects of West Side Story that are not super PC, including the makeup that's worn, etc. I'm wondering if you being first generation, your parents were both from Greece, if you being first generation, if that was an interesting point to you when you were dealing with some of the themes in West Side Story.
Okay. I have to admit to everybody, I have a little bit of a hearing problem, so I want him to repeat that long question. I'm sorry.
And I apologize, it's a little bit long-winded of a question. So, some of the themes of West Side Story, I was wondering if the fact that you were first generation, your parents are both from Greece,
Yeah.
if that was of interest to you when thinking about the themes of West Side Story.
My parents were actually from Turkey, and so my brothers and sisters and I are all born in this country, so we are first generation. But the symptoms is because in the West Side we were Hispanic, and as a young Greek, Greeks didn't have the same problems that Hispanics had. So I never felt that if that's what you're asking. But the thing that, because I did West Side Story for a year and a half in the theater in London, I became so familiar with the entire piece and with all of the parts. And Kendall Roy, who was the original Margot, I was opposite him every night. So I was, sort of osmosis. You absorb all this stuff without realizing it. But I really understood, innately, I understood this character and what they were going through, and I really felt for them, because it was wrong, I thought. So if I'm answering your question in any way, shape, or form, I hope, but my empathy for the sharks, I really had empathy for. The Jets, their family is not their mother and father at home. Their family is the gang. The Puerto Ricans have families. They have mothers and fathers. They have brothers and sisters. They're family. So they experience the neighborhood differently. And they only became fighters, so to speak, when the Jets gave them a hard time and said, get out of here, You're not agreeing with me, but that's okay.
Well, my mother was a junkie. My father was a drunk. No wonder I'm a punk.
Brother wears a dress.
People of color, everything that West Side Story was and is about absolutely remains exactly the same today. All the prejudice, everything, people of color who are looked down upon, it's all going on right now. We all know it. We hear it on the news all the time. So that's another thing that's fantastic about West Side, because it's very relevant and intelligent in what it's talking about.
And everybody should do what George and I did, which was make up.
Thank you for saying that. That was really well put. Here's a question going back to West Side. So you're an actor who danced, and you're a dancer who acted. So working with Jerome Robbins, who's one of the premier Broadway, choreographers, what was that like?
It was great for me, but it was probably good for George, and it was good for Rita. But a lot of the dancers, he was really, really tough on them, and depended on what mood he was in. And I'm not talking out of story. There was a book written on Jerome Robbins called Dancing with Demons. And it was all about his strange life and his moods. And if he got in a bad mood, you just didn't want to go near him. So that was basically what it was like. And out of all the choreographers I've ever worked with, I think he was the toughest, but also one of the most brilliant. But also the whole idea of West Side Story, I don't know if you know, but I mean, Jerome Robbins, his boyfriend was Montgomery Clift, the actor, and they sort of lived together at one point. And it was Monty Clift, Jerry told me one day that it was Monty Clift who gave him the idea. They were at a party on Fire Island, and Monty Clift came up and said, hey, you know, what do you think about doing a musical, but instead of Romeo and Juliet, do it with gangs? So, you know, with gangs in New York. And Jerry said he couldn't get it out of his mind, and that's really where the idea of West Side Story came from. And as far as my dancing, I will tell you that I got signed under contract as an actor, not as a dancer, as an actor. And I did lots of movies from childhood and all the way up. I did a movie called Retreat Hell, which was a war movie, and MGM saw it and they signed me under contract as an actor. And the first movie I did there was a comedy called Take the High Ground. And it was after that Seven Brides for Seven Brothers came out, and Michael Kidd and went over to visit Michael Kidd when they were rehearsing the dances. They'd already gone into rehearsal because Michael Kidd wanted all the dancers, six, the seventh brother being Howard Keel, he wanted all of the other brothers to be great dancers. And the studio said, look, we have actors under contract here, so you have to use 2 of our actors and you can have 4 great dancers. So Michael Kidd picked his 4 great dancers, and the other actor and myself who were under contract, Jeff Richards, who played the oldest brother, who hated dancing. He not only couldn't dance, he didn't even like it. He came over to visit on the set, and Michael Kidd said, hey, I heard you can tumble. You were a gymnast in school. And I said, yeah, and I did a backflip for him. He said, great, we'll put it in the number. So he put it in the number, and I ended up dancing all the way through. And if you remember in Seven Brides, if you see it, like Jane Powell sings the number Going Court, and you know, Going Court, and do a fancy ball and minuet, and everybody goes dancing, and so you try to get these ballet dancers to look like they're learning how to dance is impossible. Immediately, they all hit the 5th position, and I was the only one that could look awkward. Up and down. And in another dance number, I was jumping all over the place. And so Michael loved that, and he put me out front. And I ended up being on the cover of Dance Magazine a couple years later. And I did all these interviews, and they would always ask me, say, who did you study dancing from? And I said, I didn't. I never studied dancing from anybody. He said, wait a minute. And one guy finally said, wait a minute, didn't you do West Side Story with Jerome Robbins? I said, yeah. Didn't you do Hit the Deck with Hermes Pan, who was Fred Astaire's choreographer? And didn't you do, work with Michael Kidd and Alex Romero? And they were all, and I said, yes. And he said, well, you not only studied dancing, but you studied with all the masters. So I never again said I didn't study dance. That's my story.
In terms of his original question was how it was like from choreography in the theater to choreography in film. Basically, the choreography was pretty much the same with some additions. And because I did the show, I knew all the choreography. But the one thing I like to say about Jerome Robbins, Jerry was difficult to work with. I never felt it personally, I have to say for myself. But Jerome Robbins was a perfectionist with himself first. And by extension, everybody else felt it. And sometimes, he was hard on people. But the bottom line is, he was a genius, and what he created, what everybody went through, was more than worth it. And it wasn't a nightmare. It was not a nightmare. But there were some additional, for example, in the American armor, he puts more more dancing for the guys. Well, in the theater, the American number is done by the girls only. But in the film version, he included the guys and the girls so there could be this wonderful, playful thing between the guys and the girls. And it made a great number. The American number is a wonderful number. But Jerome Robbins choreographed for character, and he choreographed for the scene. One of the great things about the Cool, which is a fantastic number, and Tucker Smith, who plays Ice, and who you know, they're all up and tight and angry at the world, and he pulls them into this garage, and he says, "Cool, cool, you'll be this, no, you'll be cool, cool," and he brings them all down in this low garage, and they do this incredible number that is based absolutely on the scene and what these characters are feeling. It's not dance for dance's sake. It's dance to tell a story and continue a story. And so finally, at the very end, when he thinks he's got them all under control and everybody is cool, he says, "Okay." And he leads them outside to the alley, and they're all snapping their fingers. They're cool. They're cool. And then they look up at a window, and there had been, before the number started, a man up in a higher apartment said, "You kids, get out of the way." And they looked up at him, and they went, "Ba-da-da." And the number went on, it was over, but the scene kept moving. And that's one of the brilliant things about West Side Story and about Jerome Robbins' work in anything he ever did.
It was a great number. Unfortunately, neither one of us were in it.
And unfortunately, we're out of time. I know. But please go see these gentlemen. They're in
Zinc.
in the zinc room. So, talk to them some more, buy stuff,
Russ will talk to you about if Satan Status was a musical, what it would have been like.
Yes, please ask about that.
It would have been weird.
But anyway, let's thank them.